Okay, Zok to Helig Gemara.
No. Last two words in the line.
Okay, let me just remember what we learned about yesterday. Yes, there was a Geschmack of Gemara. We finished off learning about the Shaila Kol Mitzvah, the Amar Kol Mitzvah, Amar Chon Lo Savid, Yavid Mahani Yolei Mahani. And the Gemara says that how do you know that if you're Torah Min Hara Yofa, how do you know that the Truma is Chal? Zok to Gemara, because it says Lasisu Olav Chet Barimchem Es Chel Boy Imeni Kodesh Nesiach Chetna. Zok Toisus Bishlama, if you hold Kol Milso the Amar Chman Lo Savid Yavid Mahani. Because if the Torah says don't do something and you simply cannot do it, it doesn't work if you try. So how can you get malchus to doing something that you didn't do? So if you hold mahani, then this Gemara is very geschmack. We need to know that your action, in this case, being mafresh min hara ala yofa, is effective. Then you can get malchus for doing it. But if it wasn't chal, the serious chet lama effective. But Zok Toisus, there's a shita who holds kol milso the Amar Rachman Lo Savid. Yovid loy mahani. If it's loy mahani, how could you ever get malchus for something that's a chalois that you can't make? Zok Toisus, obviously, the reason why you get malchus is for trying. So once there's such a concept of getting malchus for trying, so our whole Gemara is Agush. What do you mean in Kaddish Nischis Chet Lama? For trying. That's Toisus' kasha. So Toisus answers on Amud Aleph at the top. Toisus begins on Amud Beis, but Toisus continues on it continues on Amud Aleph. He says as follows: Bahani the Gemara in the Kaddish Lama Kosov Kloimar Imishum the Avar Milso the Kamar Achmana. If you want to say that even if you hold Loy Mahani and you're over because you tried to do something wrong, Kivan the Bekrok Siv. It already says another psukim that you have to be toyim from the best that you have. So there already we know you're over for trying to do something that you should not have done. The Gemara's kasha is, why do we have an extra pasuk here? We already know that you're doing an avla if you try to be Torah min hara yofa, because of the other psukim that already instruct you to give truma min hayofa el yofa. It's from the extra pasuk el shmami no the lahach kasvei loy melach da Torah min hara yofa because shnei chatois there'll be two averes chet shavar alma the kamer rachmana the yitrim min hayofa. The first chet is you didn't follow instructions and you weren't Torah min hayofa. And that's even if it didn't work. And then the chet al truma say the havi truma minara. The second chet is that it actually did become truma, and that's the extra chet that one is over by being terminated early off. But I'll call upon them it's chal. Since it's chal, therefore, if someone was terminated early off, by the case of Adavatiach, you say truma. Why? Because Lemaisa, the worst case scenario is that he wasn't over on the Isser Tevel anymore, because that's what the Gemara is discussing. If you're geyser to undo everything because someone might be nichshul in the Isser Tevel, the Gemara said b'chad mona loitzos. If it was a case of someone who's mafish chala from flour, if you tell him that it wasn't good, he won't listen to you. Therefore, you make the kohen give it back. But by these payers, by being determined they're all yofa, you don't make him give it back. Zok to Heilig Gemara Amar Rav. Loi Shanu Elo do Amar La Bezu. We've been discussing the shaila of when it's considered a separate kedushin for each date and when not. So Loi Shanu Zok Rashi Heichadoi Chelas Rishona. The Ein Mitzvah La Pruta. This is based on Rav Amish Pshat in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says if someone said Hamakalashi should be tomorrow zu. We look at it like one big kedushin, and therefore you could look at the total value of all the tamarim together, and if combined your shavapruta, it'll be a good kedushin. But not if she was eating them as he was saying bezu. So, but by the time he got up to the last one, by the time she ate the last one, by the time he finished his long Maisa kedushin, they were all a milv already. the Kedushin could only be affected if the last item that she ate was a Shava Pruta. That's what the Mishnah says. So Lashanu Amala Bezu Ubezu Ubezu. Avul Amala Be'elu, if he said, Zok Rashi, Avul Be'elu, Mikabelas Rishona, like Basel the B'teres Milva. Kum to Chais, it was never B'teres Milva. The Mishnah Nigmar Hadibar, Hiknala B'teres Kedushin. But if he used the word Elu, I'm going to go back into the Gemara. Even if she's eating them, she's Mekudeshes with all, even if together combined. So she needs the value of the Tamarim that she already ate, it would still be Mekudeshes. Why? You don't say Tamilva, you say Ki ka'achla midanafsha ka'achla. She's eating from herself. So let's look at Rashi for a little for clarity on what this words. Avu ba'elu mikabolas harishayna lebasa liyada b'tayris milva. You won't say that the eating that she ate, the original ones, are like a milva, because the misha nigmar hadigmar hiknala b'tayris kedushin. Because when he finished his dibur, he was makner all of those items to her b'tayris kedushin. Remember, he wasn't saying bezu as he's giving it to her. So he's drawing out his Ma'aser Kedushin, so his Ma'aser Kedushin wasn't over till it really was a milva. He said Be'elu, so his Ma'aser Kedushin is over. Now he's giving it to her slowly. It's no different than someone who says you should be Mekudeshes la'achar shloishim yom. So therefore, she wasn't eating his. She was eating. She was eating hers because it was given to her b'teres kedushin. She's still Mekudeshes. So that is the Chiddush, that Be'elu, which concludes the Ma'ase of Kedushin even before he finishes giving her these pairs in a piecemeal fashion, and she's eating them as she goes along, all of those achilos, all of those acceptances that she's doing is all B'teres Kedushin. It doesn't become milva. Like Tosfos told us, it only becomes milva if she ate it before he finishes dibur of his Ma'ase Kedushin, because if he thinks bezu, he still didn't finish the Red Mekudeshes. But if he did he finished his words. Now everything he gives her, even though it's a little bit at a time, and it's slowly adding up to a Shava Pruta, it's still going to be a good Kedusha. Zok to Heilige Gemara. Tanya Kavasei Rav. We have a brisa that supports what Rav said. And this is what the brisa said. Hiskacheli ba'aloin beriman uve'egois. I need help from somebody who has an art scroll, because Rashi says alon is agalant, Belaz and it's a Michael Chazir. Oh, it's an acorn. Okay. Reuben is an acorn. Ego is a walnut.
Oh.
Alone is. Okay. Elon is an acorn. Reuben. I'm sorry. And ego is. What's an ego is?
No.
Is it a specific type of nut?
No.
Okay. Oi sha'amar la hiskacheli be'el. Now, this to me, at first glance, sounds like two different examples. But Alan of Ariman of Agais is bezu. And Eskachli Beilu is a different case. It's Beilu. We just said a moment ago, Rava said that there's a distinction between bezu and Beilu, yet here they're wrapped together. So we have to get an understanding of what this price means. And Meish Bechul and Shava Pruta, if combined, there are Shava Pruta, it will be Mukudeshes. The Mlav ain't a Mukudeshes. Bezu. So now you very clearly see that the first case of Allah and Riman and Ega cannot be bezu, because now first the Mishnah is introducing the case of bezu. Then the Mishnah Bekul and Shabbat Pruta Mekudeshes, from Laveni Mekudeshes, exactly the same halacha as before, except for the following halacha. Not lasai v'achlasai bezu, not lasai v'achlasai, v'oid bezu. So every time he said bezu, she took it and ate it. So by the time he got up to the end of the Ma'aser Kedushin, she had already eaten everything. There it's in the Mukudeshes, Achihei, Ba'achas Men Shabbat Pruta. So the second and third cases is pretty clear to us. It's the case of bezu, and it's very supportive of Rav Ami in our Mishnah, and it's telling us that according to Rav Ami, who learns that the case of bezu is also on the case of if she ate it, or the last case in the Mishnah of if she ate it, going back on the case of bezu, there had to be a Shabbat Pruta in the last fruit that she ate, otherwise it wouldn't be Mekudesh. Right?
Actually, said the Lashon Ashkenaz Eichel. That's Eichel is in German is
acorn.
Oh, what did you think? Oh, it's beautiful. So the art scroll got it right. Zok to Gemara, under it would say Rashi must be right. You see, the art scroll agrees with him. Right? So Zok to Gemara, hi be'iloin beriman be'egois. Hechinam, what was actually the case? Ilema de amala oi ba'aloin oi beriman oi be'egois, which is a iskachali. Im yesh b'chul and shava pruta mekudeshes. That can't be because v'ha'oi ka'am. How could you tell me that if he said iskachali 3 times and he's or oi, that means he's clearly stating I don't want the kedushin to be chal by combining the value of all these 3 items. It's each item individually. Yet the Brisa says beferish you can combine them. So that cannot be shot in the first case of the Brisa. It must be that it's a case of bezu. But the problem is that's the case of the Sefer. So Elalav must be the Amr La Be'el. When the Brisa says Eskachli Ba'ala and Berimanu Be'egois, what he said was Eskachli Ba'elu, which would have been Rava's Chiddush. Frank Gemara, how could you say that that's the case? Ba'ala and Berimanu Be'egois is when he said Be'elu, Hamidikatani Sefer, the very next case that the Brisa lists off after the case of Elon Be'egois is Oisha Amr Eskachli Ba'elu. Michlal Deresh Alav Be'elu Askin. It cannot be that Elon Reuben Egos is able, because the very next case is a Skachli Bein. Zok to Gemara, what are we forced to learn in the shot in the Brisa? That Pirusha come afar. His Skachli Balan Reuben Egos, how did he do this? How would he Mikalish a woman with these 3 items? Ketzat going to Amalah Skachli Be'elu. So now the Brisa is saying that whole Nusach in the Brisa is one big case. So Tanya comes to Rava, Skachli Balan Reuben Egos, how? With Elu. So the first case is a skachli ba'elu. By skachli ba'elu, zok to Brisa, yesh b'chol and shava pruta mekudeshes from lav and mekudeshes. And it doesn't seem to make a distinction whether or not she ate them or not. But if you said bezu, there's a distinction made between if they're munach, if they're still there, or if they were eaten one by one. That's exactly what Rava said. That by elu you don't make a distinction. Even if she ate them one by one, they would still be mekudeshes. You only make the distinction of if she ate it, the last item has to be worth shava pruta. You only make that distinction in the case of bezu. So that's exactly what our Brisa is saying. The katani seifa bezu netlas avachasoi emeish bachnin shava pruta mekadeshes from lav enu mekadeshes v'lereisha lekabaflik b'nei chelas lemanechas. In the reisha, the case of Elu, the Brisa does not make that distinction between them whether or not she ate them as he was giving them to her, or if she didn't. So Mami Noah, obviously there it would work regardless. Mami Noah, even if she eats them, even if she's eating them, it's not transferred to a milva. She's eating her own dates that her husband gave her to be mekadesher, and you see the kedusha will be good even if she ate them. So now we have a very geshmaka proof to Rava's halacha. Now we have to scratch our memories a little, because 2 days ago the Gemara was probing the 3rd case of the Mishnah that says if she ate them, it will not be a kedushin unless ba'achas mehen, unless one of them is a shava pruta. The Gemara asked, Ahaya, what is it referring to? Is it referring to the Reisha or is it referring to the Seifa? So first we'll remind ourselves the second teretz, the teretz of Rav Ami, who we're most familiar with because that's the flow of our Gemara, that it's going on the Seifa. When you say bezu, then even if it's combined values a shava pruta, it will be mukadeshes. On that, the Mishnah says, however, if she ate them, then there has to be a shava pruta ba'achas man. Correct the Gemara. But anyone has to be a shava pruta. What if the first one was a shava pruta? That's not here anymore. It's kedushin b'milva. So the Gemara was forced to say about me that when the Mishnah says achi shava pruta ba'achas man, it doesn't mean anyone. It means one specific one, meaning the last one. So the Rabbi Ami is saying a shtickle chiddush and it's a shtickle doichik. That ba'achas mahen doesn't necessarily mean anyone. Ba'achas mahen means the last one, right? And this brisa, the way we're learning, this brisa is exactly translated the way Rav Ami translated the Mishnah. That was ba'achas mahen also here means the last one. But let's go back to what how Rav and Shmuel learned out in the Mishnah. They said it's going to kamaisa, and which means they reject this kvetch that ba'achas mahen means dafka the last one. They maintain ba'achas mahen must be anyone, right? Not only that, what do they say? They say that it's referring to the first case. break the Gemara in the first case. If I said it's kashli bazu, even if they're still here, there has to be a shavar pruta in at least one of them. So what's a merchish that if they're not here anymore, one of them has to be a shavar pruta? That's not a difference, right? But if she said it's kashli bazu, even if they're all still sitting here, there still has to be at least one that's a shavar pruta, because he's not allowing her to combine them. So how did they learn? So they learned the chiddush is that even though it's less than a shavar pruta, you would think because she's eating it, she's getting instant hana, that would be a good kedushin, even though it's not a shavar pruta. Kamashalon, even if she's eating them, it's not a shavar pruta. Remember, Tosfos was asked, what do you mean she would be masking? We learned the way Tosfos learns the Gemara, she doesn't have the option. She doesn't have the option to accept less than a shavar pruta. So Tosfos says, okay, but it's still good enough for a tzrichas. The Mishnah could still say it as an added chiddush, even though technically it's not an added. So it will be very geschmack the way we learned this Gemara, that it's following the sheet of Rabami. Everything makes perfect sense in this price as well. Umay ad right? That's how we learned in the Mishnah. Achasman means dafka the last one, not anyone. Hakanami, when we learn our brisa, we will translate in our brisa exactly the way we translated in the Mishnah. Hakanami Rav Shmuel, Damru Tarvayu Areshakai, Voichelis at Strichele, right? That's what he learned. The Chiddush is Voichelis for Makarvanaitza. Haka, here you can't learn this way, because here there is no case of Iskachli Bezu, Iskachli Bezu. So he can't possibly learn Pshat in the Braita the way he learned Pshat in the Mishnah. Because in the Mishnah he said that on the case of Iskachli Bezu, where you need at least one to be a Shavar Pruta. Here, if it's less than a Shavar Pruta, the chiddush is you might think that if she actually ate it, even if it's less than a shavar pruta, kamash malon, but you can't learn shot over here because in this brisa there is no such case of a skachli bezu, right? At most it's either bezu, or be'elu. There's a distinction between if he said a skachli bezu. There we say that it's a whole bunch of individual independent kedushas, right? And that is, and in that case, Rav learned that if she ate them all, as he was saying, it wouldn't be a good kedushin unless one of them was a shavar pruta, right? That's how he learns. But the halacha of eating them up, that has to be shavar pruta. He doesn't agree with Reb Ami to ever fartaich it as meaning the last one. According to Rav and Shmuel, means anyone, because it says Achie Bachman. So they reject Rav Ami's kvetch a little bit, that Achie Bachman happens to mean only the last one. So if you reject that pshat, how are we going to learn pshat in the brisa here? The brisa here says, in the case of Iskashli bezu, and she ate him as she went along, it won't be a good kedushin unless Achi Yehei Shavar Pruta Ba'achasman. They don't learn Ba'achasman means the last one. So how are they going to learn this brisa? How are they going to explain this brisa? They can't say what they said in the Mishnah, because what they said in the Mishnah applies the halacha of achla. She eating them as she's going along. It applies it to a case that's non-existent in this brisa. This brisa does not discuss a case of a skachli bezu. The only case that this brisa discusses is a skachli bezu, which is the sefer of the Mishnah. So if you have a choice between a reisha and the sefer, you can learn that the last case of achila is going on the reisha. But here you only have the sefer. The only added case is be'elu, right? Which surely you can combine them. But here's our problem. The Rabbanan over here, they have no way to apply. In the case of when she ate it, they have no way to apply that, because they reject Rab Ami's kvetch that achasman means the last one. Zok Gemara, they also have a difficult situation, is Hamani Rebbe. They're going to have to learn that the third case of the brisa that we just looked at, in the brisa we just learned, there's three cases. There's the case of Iskachli Ba'elu, right? Then there's the case of Iskachli Bezu, and then there's the case of Iskachli Bezu when he also ate them, right? Those are the three cases in our brisa. What Rebbe is going to do he's going to say it's not one Tana talking. The first two cases was the Tana that we're familiar with, that Ba'elu and Bezu is a klal, and therefore it's enough if there's a shavar pruta amongst the whole group. The third case is now a different Tana talking. Hamani Rebbe. The third case of the Brisa is a new Tana. The Omar Loishna Kazayis, Loishna Kazayis Ukazayis. He says Lagabi something else, that it doesn't matter how you express it, Protahava. It's always as if you said a skatli. So this is a new Tana that we're being introduced to now, that we never had before, that even a loshon of bezeh is as if you said eskachili bezu, eskachili bezu, eskachili bezu. So if you hold that when he said any type of list, it automatically means that each one independently had to have been worth a shavar pruta, then it makes perfect sense that Achi Bachman shavar pruta. That's how Rav and Shmuel are going to be forced to learn this price. Let's see Rashi. Hamani Rebbe. So it's about 20 lines up on the skinny lines. Hamani Rebbe, Domer Loishna Kazayis, Ukazayis, Loishna Kazayis, Kazayis, Loishna Kazayis, Ukazayis, Protaham. So there's a new halach here where Rebbe told us you always look at it like each one is individual. And we're going to see in a moment regarding what halacha Rebbe said this, but now we're going to apply it over here. Behach Seifa, Dikatani, Bezu, Natlosoi Vachlosoi, Void Bezu, meaning she kept on eating them. Tanach Minu. It's a new Tana that we have not discussed yet, who holds that no matter what you say, it's always a prat. V'lav Hainu Tana de Reisho Mitziyosa. This case that discusses the Natlosoi Vachlosoi is a completely different Tana from the Reisha and the Mitziyosa of this Brisa that discusses the case of Be'elu and the case of Bezu. V'svir le'kerebi. V'tana oicheles. The case of the third case of our Brisa is the case of oicheles. But the truth of the matter is, it's lav dafka oicheles. V'hu adin l'maneches. V'hu adin l'maneches. V'balt, we're introducing now a new Tana who holds that no matter how he expressed it, it always is a prat, meaning it's always an individual kedushin with each item. Then it doesn't make a difference if it was maneches or was oicheles. So then you might ask, so why did the Tana now change gears? If he's arguing under the same circumstances as they are, when you didn't eat it, why did he introduce oicheles? It's completely not relevant. Because even by meneches, there has to be a shavar pruta in at least one of them, because he's learning that it's all individual kedushins. Zokt Rashi v'oicheles et sprichel lashminon, the same chiddush that Rav and Shmuel learned in our Mishnah. Not only do we say there has to be a shavar pruta in each one of them, even if you eat it, we can't relax that minimum requirement of a shavar pruta. So basically, that third Tana is exactly how Rav and Shmuel learned the first case in our Mishnah. The way the third case was described was funny because there's like different things happening. It's bezu, then it says v'oid bezu. It's a funny, drawn out way to express the case. V'tanan it says, if anyone is on shavar pruta, not just the last one, because Rav and Shmuel reject that pshat, mekudeshes. Why? Mishum desvirli hiskachi akol chada koi hiskachi bezu, v'oid bezu hiskachi. So the reason why it uses this funny lashon is to stress that no matter what lashon you use, bezu, we always look at it as if you actually said it's kachi bezu. Now, where did Rebbe say this halacha that no matter how generalized you speak, we automatically assume that it's each one individually? After Rebbe bezvachim beperk beis b'mechashiv b'shchitas hazevach, there's a halacha of pigel. If someone has a machshava that he's going to eat it, chutz l'bsmanoi, that becomes pigel deraisa, and there's a chi of kares if one eats it. But if someone while he's shachting has a machshava to eat it, chutz l'mkoimoi, he's not going to eat it in the Beis Hamikdash or in Yerushalayim, wherever it's supposed to be eaten. He's going to eat it out of that area. That's a different type of pigel. We call that pigel light because that is also and it's possible. But if one eats it, you're not chayav. So b'mechashev b'shchitas hazevach bein sheshachat almanas lechel kazayis l'mocher kazayis b'chutz. So his thought was or even if articulated, he said, I'm shechting this, almanas lechal kazayis l'machar, kazayis b'chutz. So he also has two items in the list. So Ben Chomer kazayis l'machar, kazayis b'chutz. Saiv, he spoke out, I'm going to eat one kazayis l'machar, and I'm going to eat one kazayis b'chutz. Havel shtei machshavos. We look at it as two machshavos. So whether he said kazayis b'chutz, kazayis l'machar, or he said kazayis b'chutz u kazayis l'machar, he doesn't care. We all look at it like it's two separate machshavos and two separate things happening. Ula Rabbi Huda, the Ozil Basal Rishon, according to Rabbi Huda, you go Basal Rishon, have a pigel v'chayavin of kares, because you look at it like it was only a case of kazayis l'machar. But according to Rabbi, you look at it like it was kazayis l'machar and a kazayis b'chutz. So this is where Rabbi taught us that no matter how you express yourself or think yourself, it's automatically separated into two individual items. And that's exactly like the case of Iskacheli, and that's really all the third case of our Bryce is talking about. Now we're getting into a whole new Geshmak Sugya, which really is we already alluded to it early, and that is Mekadosh B'milva. The Gemara had already made an assumption that a Mekadosh B'milva is Einu Mekudeshes, and the case that we discussed was someone said Iskacheli B'zu, 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 and she was eating them as he was saying B'zu, B'zu. All of the earlier things that she ate are now a milva, and therefore, unless the last thing that she ate is a shava pruta, it would not be a good kedusha. Right? That's how Rabbi Ami learned in the Mishnah. So Amarav, Hamakadosh b'milva ain't mukadesh. Someone who is makadosh with a milva is not going to be mukadesh. It does not work. The yeshar mukadesh, and there are those who say she's mukadesh. So the question is why? So Rashi told us there that the problem is if he's being makadosh with a milva, at the point where we want the kedusha to be chal, she's not getting anything, because the money that was given to her is gone already. All that remains here is a shibut for her to pay back. But v'yesher mekudesh. So what is the machlokes? My lav v'hakam. So the Gemara is going to do a deep dive into the why. Maybe we'll say the ma'asavar milva loitzanit. When you give money to someone as a loan, before let's say he borrowed the money to do a certain investment. Let's say he didn't spend the money yet; it's still sitting there in cash. What is its status? So Rashi says, "Loitzah nitna," the second wide line. Haloiva rashai loitzia boitza ve'enei chayiv lahamida beiska shetehei mitzuya b'chalei sheyitavenu. The loiva has a right to buy bubble gum. He can do whatever he wants with it, even though there'll be no trace of the money left. There are those who hold that no, he could only buy things with it where there's still cash value collateral there. Property, a business, he has to buy something that there's still something left over here. But we all so the kiva the the money is now hers. Now all she owes is a shibut, and therefore at the time where he's being moichel at milva, he's not giving her any money at the time because it's already hers. So Zok to Gemara, Hamakash milva. And the Mekudeshes milva loitzadit. This sounds like there's a machlokes tanoim about it, because we have a brayso that says Hamakadosh milva ain't Mekudeshes. Yeshar Mekudeshes. My lavaka mivli. The ma'asav milva loitzaditna. The ma'asav milva lav loitzaditna. So are you going to say that Rav Halacha is totally the machlokes tanoim? It's his bra. Frank Gemara, you can't learn shot like what you think it is. That it's the case of whether or not milva loitzaditna, because I'm a sefer. Look at the sefer of the same brayso. Vishavin b'mecher shizakana. Both agree that if I want to buy a piece of property off you, and you had lent me, if I want to buy a piece of property from you, and I had lent you money earlier, there for sure it works. Why? Why is it different? I'm not giving him anything at the time, right? But my money, how am I cutting the property? I didn't give you money that I can make a kinyan kesef. What's the difference between if you're marrying a woman, if you're buying a property? Either way, I have to be giving you kesef at the time, and I am not. So your pshat cannot be pshat in the brayso, because according to your pshat, that it's milva loitzanitna, how could it possibly work by mech? Zok to Gemara, Amrit milva loitzanitna b'may kani. Rab Nachman said, Huna chavrin mukim la. Huna and his chaverim touched it up a mili uchri. The case of the brayso that we just quoted is a completely different case. It's not a discussion of milva loitzanitna. For hacha b'may eskinon. Kisha Amar Law Hiskachali Biman. He tells the woman, I want you to be Mukadeshes to me with $100. And I'm counting out $100 to give to her. The Nimtzam Anachas for dinner. I'm short $1. So now I only gave her $99. So Mekalish B'milva, can I owe you the last $1? That's the question of B'milva. My Savar, she will not, she in her heart, she's not being Goymer Das to be makna herself to you. You know why? Because she's afraid she'll never get the last $1, because she'll be embarrassed to ask for it. What she's going to go ask her husband, you owe me $1? She won't want to do that. And she knows she won't want to do that, so she knows she's not going to get the full 100, so she's not nicha to the Kedusha. She's not embarrassed. Her whole life she's going to be asking her husband for money. Why should this be different? So she's not afraid to accept that Kedushin because she will demand it. So how does that change anything? Legabe karka, because legabe karka works anyways. Because if you buy karka from somebody and you promise to pay him back the last $100, Shanaimel is going to come on you. So he's not worried. He's going to come on you. It's only a question of a wife that will be embarrassed to demand from her husband the last $1. But the moicher, he's going to demand the last $1. So that now the brisa makes sense. It's not negate to our discussion of mekadosh b'milva. Zog to Gemara, Rabbi Lozer said, "Iskachli b'mana, but not on dinner." If he said that I want you to be mekadosh with me b'mana, so he said $100, and he only give her $1. It's exactly the same thing. He's asking her if he could pay her off the remaining chiyuv of the kedusha kesef. Harayzu mekadosh, it works. We asked him, and he'll have to pay her back. Are you going to say le'mekatanoi amal shmaitzei? Are you going to say that this is tali in a machlokes tanoim? Because we just quoted the brisa before that says that ksiva milsa. So there's a very big difference. Monachas a dinner, if he paid her $99 out of $100 and there's only $1 owing, there ksiva milsa lemitba. There she'll be embarrassed to ask. It's making her look petty to demand the last $1. But in the case where Rebbe said that it works, monachas or tishim b'shisha, but if she only got paid $1 and she's owed 99, there like ksiva milsa lemitba. There, she has no problem making the demand. That's why it's beautiful. So I gave her my watch to watch, and I said you should be mukadeshes to me with that watch. That's money, cash here. But the whole and she went and she found that it was stolen. So a watch was not a good example because we're talking about something with a whole bunch of them. So I'm being Mikasha with this bag of pearls, and she saw that the bag of pearls was stolen or lost. If there is at least a shavapruta of pearls that are remaining that he could still use as the kesef kedushin mikudeshes, but uva milva, if it was alone where nothing's around. This is completely counterintuitive because there's nothing here. How does that work? The Gemara is going to have to explain it. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, I remember Rabbi Meir, Milva Harehu Kipikadin. It's Milva and Pikadin have the same status, which means that if it's Nishtar Mimenu, it will work. It'll be a good condition. So this is screaming for an explanation. Zok to Gemara Vayter. At Kanloy Pligi, this machlokes that we just quoted between Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar and the Tanakama, loy pligi elo demar savar milva. One holds milva alpha gav the loy yishtayer himena shavarput. A milva will work even if there's nothing left. Umar savar, and the other mandama holds nishtayer himena shavarputin. Be loy nishtayer himena shavarputa loy. Right? That's taking the machlokes at face value. The Tanakama holds that a milva will work even if it's loy nishtayer himena shavarputa. And Reb Shimon Elazar was Reb Shimon in the name of Reb Shimon Elazar, Bishum Reb Meir, and Reb Meir holds that no, milva is just like pikadon, only if there's a shavaput or not. But everybody will agree that mekadosh b'milva is mekudeshes. But everybody does agree that mekadosh b'milva is mekudeshes sheyesh naben. Right? The discussion was only if it's not around anymore. But if the milva was around, it would be no different than the pikadon. And it would be mukadeshes. So you have a klora raya that Mekadosh Milva is Mukadeshes, which is a stira to the halacha that we quoted at the beginning of our sugya from Rav, who said that Mekadosh Milva ain't Mukadeshes. And this is literally a case where you're actually being Mekadesher with the money that she owes you. We can no longer say we're speaking about a case where he's trying to marry her and not pay in full. So we have a problem. It's not a kasha. V'tizbra. You're asking me a kasha from this brisa. You know the whole brisa makes no sense at all. I mean, as we were learning it, we couldn't make heads or tails out of it. So v'tizbra hamitaratzta. You're asking me a kasha from a brisa that you think is a valid brisa. Hamishabeshti. The whole brisa makes no sense. And I'll show you before you even ask kashas on Rav from this brisa. Try to understand the brisa on its own. Hi pikad and heichadam. What was the case of this pikad? Either kabul achrayis. If she was makabel achrayis, meaning she was makabel achrayis to watch it, and she's responsible to watch it. She's not just a shar mechina. She's not just a shar mechina who would be potter on nigna b'yavda, but she's a shar mesacher who would be mechuyev on nigna b'yavda. Well, then hainu milva. The moment it got stolen, then it's a regular milva. Because so Rashi on the first skinny line, the moment it was stolen, and now she has to pay him back. Well, now nimsa milva. Now all that remains is her to pay for the damages because she was responsible for it. And since the Tanakam of this price has said that by a milva, even if nothing left, it's mekudeshes. But by pekadon, there has to be something left. What's the difference? Even by a pekadon, if there's nothing left, what is a pekadon if it was nigna v'ayavda? It's a milva now, because all that remains is her chiyuv to pay him back. So why would the Tanakama make a distinction between milva and pekadon when in essence a pekadon after it's gone is a milva? Dr. Gemara, I need a loy kabbalah achrayis, and if you're going to tell me that she wasn't a kabbalah achrayis, so the fact that it was nigna v'avda does not be mechayever to pay anything, you cannot say that. Because ihachi adetani seifa ubemilva alpha pishaloy nishtari men shavaprudim mikudeshes. Why would the seifa say in the case of pekadon, if she's not mechuyev to pay for it, right? She's not mechuyev to pay for it. That means that if it got stolen, there's no money left from to be mekadosh with her, unless there's a shavapruta remaining as a pekadon that's still here, right? Because if in fact she would be mechuyev to pay back, it would be mukadeshes. So, Frek the Gemara, what was the case? What was the first Tanas halach? By pekadon, it only works if there's a shavar pruda, but by milva, it works even if there's no shavar pruda because makadosh by milva is mukadeshes, right? But by pekadon, if she wasn't makabel achrayis, then by pekadon, if it was stolen, there is no milva here because she doesn't owe the money back. So, why did the Gemara normally when a brisa or a mishnah expresses a halacha, we try to stick close to the center of what we're talking about. So what did the Talmud of the brisa start with? Mekadosh b'pikadon. Mekadosh b'pikadon in a case where you were not makabel achrayis, if the items were stolen and you're not mechuyev to pay back, then there's no money here at all. There's no shiva. There's nothing here. So how could the kedushin work? Only if there was a shavar pruta remaining. In order to find a case where there's nothing remaining and it's still a kedushin, the next case of the brisa was, but the milva, even if it was loy nishtayr shavar pruta, it will still be a good kedushin. Why did the Gemara have to? Why did the brisa have to go to a case of milva? We could have stuck to a case of pekadon where she was makabel achrayis. So, Frank the Gemara, stick to pekadon. Why are you running around? Where do we say that it's not a good kedushin if there's nothing left, if there's no kabbalah achrayis, so there's no money here? If she was makabel achrayis, if you hold the mekadosh from milva as mukadeshes. So the question is, why did the mishnah? Why did the brisa change from pekadon to milva? So therefore, you're going to have to explain the brisa completely differently. Uva milva, you have to change the mishnah. That's what the Gemara meant. It's a mishabeshta. This brisa is mistaken. And you have to edit it. And what it should say is uva milva, which is exactly the sheet of Rav of mekadosh milva eina mukadeshes. Beautiful. So now it's oiskasha because we just said the brisa is a mistake. And the brisa should read that mekadosh milva is eina mukadeshes. Rabbi Shimon Elazar, I remember Shimon Meir, milva harei kivdikot. Rabbi Shimon Elazar treats a milva exactly like a pikot. Why? What does he hold? Why does milva work? The makam efagi. What is From Shimon Elazar, Mishum of Meir. Why does he say a milva? I on it. Omer Rabba, Ashkechinu leRabbanon bebei Rav. I met the Rabbanim in the Besmedrish. Rashi bebei Rav doesn't mean daf in Rav's house. It means generally in the Besmedrish. The Yasri v'Ka'amri. They said, you know what the case is? It's b'milva v'shus bailim lechazara v'wadin la'ointin kamiflim. What is the halach? I want to borrow money from you, and you give me $10,000. I didn't spend the $10,000. Could the bailim say, I changed my mind, give me the money back? Or I said, no, you gave me the money back. I don't have to give you back. I'll stick to the terms of our loan. So the question is, until I spend the money, who is controlling that money? Is it the bailim controlling the money? Or is it the malva? Or is it the loiva controlling the money? Or who didn't launch it? If the bailim control the money, and the money got stolen before I spent it, is the loiva liable? That is the machlokes. The ma'asav are milva versus loiva kaima. And the moment you give me the cash, even though the cash is still here, it's already the loiv is, and all he owes you is a shiva to pay back. Who didn't launch it? So if that's the case, we'll have to learn that the case of our brisa is where the money was still intact. The discussion of Mekadosh Milva, if the money was still intact. The Tanakh holds, if the money was still intact, it doesn't make a difference. It's already in the Rishus HaLoiva, and there's only a shibud, and therefore Mekadosh Milva in the Mukadesh. But Reb Shimon Elazar Mishum Meir, who holds that by Milva to Mukadeshes, because the money is still there, and therefore that money, which still belongs to the Malva, with that money he could be Mekadosh. V'amina lahu, and I told them, Rabbi said I corrected them. Because I said, La'antim kula amalai pligi, it was just leivakani. Come on, you lent somebody $10,000. The money is in his safe, in his house, and someone breaks into his house and steals it. The loiva can say, I don't have to pay you back. That's something I can't accept. So kula amal, when it comes to ointim, kula amalai pligi, it was just leivakani. My time, lagar mishayla. What's the difference if I borrowed something from you? Why is it if I borrowed something from you and clearly still yours, I'm not calling it an object, I have a right to use it, and someone steals it from me, so if I borrow money from you and I didn't use it yet, I should be part of a not. So therefore, ma shayla, the hadr be'ena, madach shayla, which I'm going to have to give back the actual object. Yet you still say that once it's in my possession as the borrower, I'll be mechuyev in it no matter what happens. Milva l'kol shekain, surely a milva which I never have to give you back the same money because I'm going to be able to spend it on something else and you just owe you the money. Surely there I'm mechuyev in it. Ella, we're going to limit the scope of this shaila milva b'shes rabim l'chazari ikibnai. There's a machlokes whether or not if the cash is still there, can the malva say I want the money back? The Ella, and that's the whole machlokes. Mekadosh milva, what type of milva? A milva that was not yet spent. But avad if the milva was spent, there's nothing left. Everybody agrees to Rav that milva leitzanitna, and there's no money here to make the illusion. The Rav Huna taught us an interesting halacha. Hashoyel kurdum mechaveire. Someone borrowed an axe from his friend. So now we're thinking about she'ela. Bikaboy kana. If the borrower already used the axe, he's kinded. Loy bikaboy loy kana. But if he didn't use it yet, he is not koine yet. Zokt Rashi, lagabe what? Bikaboy Rashi says, have a chazaka lishtamish boy yimei she'elosai ve'na mashal yochal achsaba. So can I borrow your axe? Before I was about to use it, you say, I want it back. I changed my mind. I don't want to lend it to you. I have to give it back. But if I already used it once, I was koine it lagabe the she'ela, and you can't back out. I'm allowed to have it for the term of whatever we agreed originally I would borrow it for. So Zokt Gemara, are you going to say that this halacha is totally the machlokes tanoim in milva leitzanit? No, because by milva we had that child if he could back out or not. Zokt Gemara, no. Rav Huna, who's only an Amora, he has to agree with all the tanoim. Therefore, Atkan like pligi, where is there machlokes tanoim about whether or not the malva can ask for the money back if the money's still there? El b'milva. You know why? Milva. Right away, when the malva gives it over, he loses his grasp in it because you're not mechuyev to pay me back the same dollars. You can pay me back any dollars. So therefore, you're actually taking possession and ownership of the money itself. Alva b'sheila, where you're never kind of the object, you never kind of my object, you're borrowing the right to use it. The hadr be'ena, there divrei I call bikaboy in loy bikaboy loy kati. So by sheila for sure, unless you used it, the owner can ask for the object back and back out from his commitment to lend you. But cash, once you have it, you lost your ownership of it, and therefore you can't ask for it back. So we're at 6:57. So I think we should stop here. I was hoping to get on Tamar Aleph, but I came late today. I apologize. It's those 10 minutes that I came late, the 10 minutes that we didn't finish the daf, so I apologize. So Mitcham, we're going to learn an hour before Mincha on each day of Yom Tov, and we'll start Bez Hashem from Nema Ketanoi. So Moshe Rubin might grumble a little bit that we're back and he wants to start later, but I'll try to make a joke in the meeting. Because Moshe Rubin doesn't like that. Oh, you're not on the daf. You're I learned this already. I'll have to get patched for coming late.